Hey friends, well, happy Monday, wherever this finds you. I really hope and pray that you are well, that you're doing well, that you're healthy. And I just want to put something into your heart today to start your week off that I pray blesses you. And really it's come out of the big weekend we just had as a family. You know, as a family, we just celebrated this weekend our firstborn, Hope Cherish, her 18th birthday. I know, I can't believe it. I have an 18-year-old. It just doesn't even seem real, but it is. But you know, it was such a significant weekend for us as a family because many of you, if you've traveled with my ministry for any length of time, will know the story well that Hope Cherish is our miracle child. And we were told that we would never have children. And so what was impossible in the eyes of those that were our consultants and doctors became our miracle and possibility in the hands of our Creator and Almighty Father. And I just feel like I want to remind someone today that the God that did that for us is the God that can do the same in your life. Whatever your impossibility looks like right now, I'm here to remind you at the beginning of this week that you serve a God who is not limited by the world that we are in. He is not limited by the finances you have. He is not limited by the physical constraints you may feel that you are suffering in. He is not limited. He is an unlimited God. And I think that sometimes we so easily forget who we serve, who works on our behalf, and we begin to read the wrong report, and we begin to believe the wrong outcome for our future. And so today, I just want to remind you that God is working behind the scenes and God can make a way where there is no way. You know, it tells us in Isaiah 55 verse 9, it says, you know what? It says, as high as the heavens are from the earth, so God's ways are higher than ours. His thoughts are higher than ours. And I think oftentimes we forget that. I think we think about God limited to the way that we think about the things we see around us. We think about our world in the way that we are restricted with the things that we feel and sense are happening in our world. But God is beyond time and space. He is beyond all those limitations. He is not waiting for something to happen for him to be able to move. He's not waiting for more resources to land in his heavenly bank account before he can bless you. He's not waiting for more people to show up to get the job done. God is able, and we have to begin to believe that and walk that out in our everyday reality. And that is a journey, and it was a journey for Steve and I when it came to believing God to make a way where everyone else said there was no way. But we had to choose right at the beginning of that journey. I remember we had to choose on a regular basis what report we would read, what we would believe. And I know I've said it to you before, but I'm saying it again because I feel like I have to say this to you today. I don't know why, but someone needs to hear. Stop reading the bad report and start believing the God report. It says in Numbers 13, right, the story of the 12 spies that go out to survey the land. Now remember, this is land that they have already been promised. This is land that they have already been committed to and told that it is theirs to possess. And so they already had the end statement. They already knew, hey guys, this is it. You win, you get the land, you get the prize. And yet we find that when the 12 spies go out to just simply write the report, that's all they had to do, that negativity grabbed the pen and began to write a different outcome. And we have to understand that there's a fight over who has the pen in our story too. Anxiety wants the pen. Jealousy wants the pen. Fear wants the pen. And you have to choose. God has set the outcome. God has declared his word. God has told you that his ways are higher. But who writes the report that you read, and not only you read, but the others around your world read? And I remember Steve and I on that journey having to be so careful that we kept the pen in our hand and let faith write the page and let faith put words on the paper. And we had to be so careful we didn't allow ourselves to read reports that would actually cut against the report that we knew God had for our future. And so let me take you to that story just for a moment and illustrate to you again so that you can be reminded in your current situation to write the right report. It says that they went and wrote the report, and in Numbers 13, we come to this part where the report's been written and they're moaning and they're whining and they're writing all this negative stuff. And it says in verse 30, Caleb silenced the people as they began to hear this report. And he said, look, we should go up and take the possession of the land because we can certainly do it. And I love that. It's like, what is the problem? God is for us. He's already told us that we got this. We can certainly do it. How many times do we talk ourselves out of what we can certainly do? We can certainly believe. We can certainly take a step of faith. We can certainly trust. We can certainly sow. There's so many things that we can doubt about that God's like, you can certainly do this. But it says that those that had gone up and written the negative report, they'd already spread it. Isn't it funny how the negative report always gets to be spread quicker than the good one? And now it says that the people were beginning to hear this report, and this is what was now being said, because exaggeration always comes with the negativity. It says they spread the bad report, and they said the land we explored devours those living in it. All the people there were of much greater size. And then they end by saying this, and we even look like grasshoppers in our own eyes. See, when you allow limitation to write the report, not only does it shrink the God possibility, but it even shrinks you. It shrinks even what you feel that you can do. Where you would have stepped out and had a go before, now you don't even try. Where you would have stepped out and said something before, now you just keep quiet. And I'm telling you, the enemy wants you to put that pen in the hand of things that will keep your story small. But God wants you to know, no, my ways are higher. And wants you, like Caleb, to silence that negative report and start to write the report that reflects the God that you serve. And so we, in our own personal journey, celebrated Hope's 18th birthday this weekend. But it was a celebration of so many things. Yes, of our daughter turning 18, but yes, of a miracle that we've been able to hold for 18 years. And yes, of a way that God made where people said there was no way. And yes, that we as parents, before we ever knew we could become parents, began to speak in line with what God had spoken over us. And I don't know what your impossibility is. I don't know if it's a financial situation or a job situation, or maybe you are estranged from somebody that you really desperately want to be reunited, and you want some reconciliation to happen in your relational world. You know, we can so often say it's impossible. They'll never change. I'll never have the opportunity. You know, it'll never be that I have money in my account. I'll always be broke. You know what? My whole family struggle with debt, so I'm always going to be in debt. You know, I'll never be fully well. You know, I'm just going to put up with kind of the level of health that I have. Do you hear yourself as I say those things? I know we all can start to repeat a narrative of limitation without even realizing it. Listen, your God is the God who can make a way. Your God does not have an impossibility vocabulary. He doesn't. He has a possibility vocabulary. He can make things happen in a way that we can't even begin to believe or even understand with our own finite minds. And I just think today, some of you need to rip up the page that you've been reading over and over again and start to rewrite the narrative of your story. And begin to speak like Caleb did, life and possibility over your future. God has already gone ahead of you. Now you need to start moving your life so that you can begin to match up with what God is going to do for you. And so what is it today? I want to challenge you to do a couple of things today. I want you to maybe go away from this and write down a couple of things that you know are maybe the giant that you're facing, or maybe they're the land that you really are praying that one one day you can possess. And I want you to write it down and be bold and write it down, because some of you, you've even stopped thinking about it because you're like, it'll never happen. Who said it would never happen? Who told you that you can't move forward from where you are? Why are you staying stuck when you serve a God who can get you unstuck? And so whatever it is, write it down. And then here's what I want you to do. I want you to begin to allow faith to pick up the pen. Begin to write some prayers that are faith prayers. Begin to write some declarations down that are declaring a way in the place where you find no way. Declaring that God is the source, that He is the answer, that He is the light. Because declarations are powerful. And begin to rip up the wrong narrative and begin to stop reading the wrong reports. God is a God who is the God of the impossible. Think about that. And now think, where does your language need to change to line up with that reality? And there's so many stories in the Bible that we could read where if you were to look at it with your natural eye, it's impossible. It's an impossible situation for a boy to take on a giant. It's an impossible situation for a young woman to bring deliverance through going to see a king she wasn't supposed to visit. It's impossible for a guy to build an ark and then sail and then take all these animals 2 by 2. It's impossible to see walls fall down with just a shout. It's impossible for an enemy to run away when all they hear is a noise rather than even you making the attack. There are so many stories in the Bible that we could go on and on and on. And if you'd asked that person at the beginning of their story, they would have said, hey, it's impossible to get across this water. How's that ever going to happen? And God's like, why do you keep talking to me as if I am limited? If I want to part the water or scare the enemy or deliver a nation through a young orphan or send money in the mouth of a fish or multiply bread, I will do it if I so decide to do it. So you have to realize you need to stop writing the ending when God oftentimes has not even begun writing His story over those pages that you are already shutting down. So I'm praying for someone right now that there's a situation and you've become stuck. And the reason you're stuck is not because God's keeping you stuck, but it's the way you're thinking, it's the way you're speaking. You have become limited and impossibility mindset has kicked in. And I want you to move the impossibility out and begin to embrace possibility thinking. This is not just positive thinking. This is God thinking. This is declaring the word. And I'm telling you, just like we marked a moment this weekend, some of you are going to mark some moments in the coming weeks and months ahead. That's what I'm believing for. That's what I'm praying for. In fact, let me pray right now. God, I pray for my friend right now that is facing something that feels so difficult and so hard. God, I pray in however way you can, take this word today and give them strength and encourage them, just like Caleb tried to encourage those people and say, God, you can do this. You can make a way where there is no way. Today, God, I pray that people's hope would rise up and literally that they would find that joy would come back and they would begin to believe your word over all the other words. God, today we declare that your ways are higher, that your thoughts are higher, and you are the God who makes a way where there is no way. We are believing today for miracles to happen, breakthroughs to happen, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. I'm fired up all on my own over here. I hope you're fired up all over there. God is the God who makes the impossible things happen. So let's believe it and let's speak it out. Have a great week. Love you guys.